Hey guys, so I wanted to show you a Yu-Gi-Oh deck that I've been building and really liking a lot recently. And that deck is, take a guess. It's not him. It's her. I've been playing Dogmatica, specifically the Dogmatica Ritual deck. So, a little bit of backstory on this. When Dogmatica came out, I was kind of interested in it, like way back in 2020. Never played it because it was either too expensive, because Nadir Servant, Fleur de Lis, Ecclesia, they all had like price tags and stuff. And then at the time, like it wasn't even really clear what the deck was actually supposed to do outside of like being a supplementary engine for like invoked or something. But then the ritual cards came out, and that's kind of when I started to get interested. So they finally got Dogmatica Albazoa a couple sets ago, and very recently in Master Duel. So I played it mostly in Master Duel, and now I just kind of have built it in real life. So this isn't really a deck profile exactly, because this is not like really a finished or updated build. I don't play it as much in real life. There's some filler cards in here that I'll just sort of skip over, but I wanted to explain to you guys for one main reason. This is probably one of the most unique, like, win condition sort of gimmicks to a deck that I've played with, since the goal here is actually to send cards from your and your opponent's extra deck to the graveyard. And not like in a like, okay, just remove all 15 immediately and then something like that. No. Like it's just supposed to literally slowly pull apart your opponent's resources. And what makes this deck really fun is the fact that you kind of have to know a lot about the matchups that you're facing. Because unlike other decks that just have simple, strong control cards, like, maybe a Labyrinth deck or something like that's very just shutouty, like maybe Exo Sisters, this deck is unique because I think, like, if I send the wrong things from your extra deck, it might help you or, like, enable things or just might, that kind of thing. So I found by just playing it a lot, the more I know about opposing matchups, the more I know what to send, the better the deck does. All right, so first of all, there's 3 different ritual monsters in here. And looking at them now, I feel like the printing on her is like really weird. Like he's darker blue and she's like lighter blue. Anyway, also he should have been secret rare, but I'm rambling. So the way that these work is basically White Relic and White Knight of Dogmatica. They're cool. This one, she makes it where your level 8 and higher monsters can't be destroyed by battle. And when she's summoned, she picks 2 monsters in the field and gives 1 monster's attack to the other monster. So as you'll see, she's quite weak, but she can become really strong. And then finally, whenever your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, you get to look at their extra deck and send another card from it to the graveyard. So a really cool example of a thing you could do here is if you know that like your opponent's got a Link 1 monster that they typically link up into like a Link 2 monster, you can actually just send that away. So like something that I like to do is maybe if I see my opponent's laddering into Access Code Talker, I could take away like the Celine or just take away the Access Code Talker if they're at that point in the combo. But maybe you can say like a Dragon Link deck that might go from Striker Dragon into what is the Dragoonity one called? Romulus. Then like when they make Striker Dragon, I can then like use their effect to hit Romulus. So it's very cool. And she pairs really well with White Knight of Dogmatica, who is level 8. And so basically, whenever your opponent has resolved anything in a new chain, you get to activate his effect and send 1 monster from your extra deck and 1 monster from their extra deck to the graveyard. So as we'll get into in a second, there's lots of really great things to send from my extra deck, but more importantly, this is another way to disrupt your opponent's extra deck. And it only has 500 attack, but after it's used that effect, it'll gain attack equal to half of the total attack of both monsters sent. So if you send something from your extra deck with like 2,500 and then something from their extra deck like a Borlo Savage or whatever, you can actually get a lot of attack points till the end of the turn. So yeah, it's very cool. These two together work really well. They've actually got a ritual spell that works really well together with them. So they're fun. Having them both out in the field at the same time means that they can't run over him, and so you can keep him in attack position. You can have her in defense position. And I'm saying him, but it's actually like a possessed suit of armor. So I don't really know if that is gender. They. But the point is, yeah, these two make a really good pair. Now this is the newer one. It's Dogmatica Albazoa. It's kind of the big boss monster. I really love this. They finally added a summoning animation for him in Master Duel, and it's like really scary.
That's
And all that
definitely
stuff.
in it.
Yeah, it's an it. But so he's cool, or it's cool rather. It's got a really neat effect. So basically, while this is out, all of your Dogmatica monsters are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Link monsters. So this can protect you if, say, you end up accidentally making your opponent send an Elder Entity into the graveyard. It can't pop your cards. But maybe more importantly, it just means like your opponent can't hit you with the many just abusive, mean extra deck cards that exist. So these are great. They're fun to have. He's got 4,000 attack, and his other effect that's really, really cool is that he can force your opponent to decide to either send cards from their extra deck or hand to the graveyard equal to half of the number of cards in their extra deck. I know that sounds confusing, but basically what it means is that if they have like 15 cards in their extra deck, then they have to send 7 because it's always rounded down. And if they have like 14, they also have to send 7. And they can send from their extra deck or they can send from their hand, but typically they're going to want to send from their extra decks, and sending from their hand is a lost advantage. This can be really deadly. I think there's a lot of decks that really kind of need just all of the cards in their extra deck. Using this against Dragon Link or Sprite or like things like that can be really deadly, but you got to be careful because if you're using it against like other branded decks, you might just be helping them out. Alternatively, instead of doing that though, they can choose to return all of their Synchro Fusion, Xyz, and Link monsters back to the extra deck, which is probably actually the better effect if we've got a huge field full of monsters. So it's really cool. All three of these are awesome. They're kind of the highlight of the deck. I'm going to just run through the monsters because they're not really as important. They're kind of things that you already know about. There's Fleur-de-Lis. These aren't really in order. There's Maximus, who's great for sending like Herald of or Arclight and other stuff like that set up. Dogmatica Ecclesia, the beautiful, the virtuous. And one of the fun techs that I actually like to run is Dogmatica Ascian. So he's not really commonly run, but when a monster gets sent from the extra deck to the graveyard, when a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster is sent to the graveyard, because it can actually happen in a number of ways. If your opponent links something off or whatever, you can use his effect in a new chain and summon himself from the hand. When he's summoned from the hand, he lets you get a Dogmatica card from your graveyard back to your hand, which is pretty fun. And then also, whenever your opponent attacks a Dogmatica monster, you can make all your Dogmaticas gain 500 attack. It's kind of the opposite of Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis, where when your Dogmatica monster attacks, she gives them all 500. Together, though, they can be really good. Just if you summon this in your opponent's turn, you can like kind of help wall off your opponent. So I only run one of this, and there's just more duplicates. So all these things. So anyway, I've also got, okay, so I have like 3 Fleur-de-Lis here. On Master Duel, I only run 2. Some of these ratios are really off. That's why I'm saying like ignore exact ratios here. Then there's Diviner of the Herald. Finally got my hands on some of these. They can also send stuff from the extra deck to the grave. I suppose I should probably finally just show the extra deck here because it's really important. Got Elder Entity, Intis, Titaniclad for searching and summoning and stuff. You can get Fleur-de-Lis in the end phase, or if you haven't summoned Ecclesia, you can get Ecclesia in the end phase. Summon her and then search Fleur-de-Lis, which is even better. Granganol, he's awesome. I've got a Starlight Rare copy of this. I probably could use, but maybe it's better just to use the ultra rare one. This is cool, so when your opponent summons a monster with a monster effect, you can banish it from your grave and summon a Dogmatica card. Quintet Magician, it's for summoning Albazoa in one go with Augmented Calamity, which I'll get into in a second. But also, it takes 5 Spellcaster monsters. So in the really weird off chance that your opponent is playing Fusion Gate or something, I can actually theoretically make this card. That's why I run it instead of 5-headed Dragon. Garura, which is meant to be sent with Bucephalus, which I guess I'll just go straight to the links. Bucephalus, you can send him. He's 3,500, so this opens up a really high attack limit for Dogmatica Punishment. Although I guess in that case, you can really just send Quintet Magician. And then when you send him, you get to send Garura and draw a card. So it makes your punishment really plussy. These are just for Diviner of the Herald to make. Gets an extra deck monster in your grave. You can use with Maximus. This is a Xyz monster that, when it's sent, can negate the effect of a card on the field. It's really fun if you're using something like Ultimate Slayer, which I don't actually have copies of in real life, but I'm planning on getting them, because this way I can like send back a Zeus or whatever with its effect. And Wind Pegasus, Omega for recycling, Herald for searching all the ritual stuff. Okay, a few more things. These are hand traps. Ignore them. They're just, it could be any hand traps you want. That's Prosperity, Lightning Storm. Dear Servant's cool. It's just a search card. So I wanted to actually talk more about your ritual spells, Dogmatic Calamity and Dogmatica Macabre. So Calamity lets you ritual summon by sending a monster straight from your extract to the graveyard that's level matches what you're summoning. This is great if you want to summon White Knight. You can send like a copy of Titaniclad. If you wanted to summon White Relic, you could send, say, a Herald of Arclight. And of course, that's also why I've got Quintet Magician, because I can use that to summon Albazoa. So all very cool stuff. Dogmatica Matrix, my favorite card, and one that I think is really well designed. So what's really cool about this is this continuous spell. When it's activated, you can add a Dogmatica ritual monster or ritual spell from your deck to your hand, and if your opponent controls a monster, you can get an additional Dogmatica card. This is cool because when going first, it's pretty helpful, but if you're going second, it's really good. Make this deck a little bit better at like being able to go second and break boards, and then while you have a ritual monster on the field, you can a Dogmatic Ritual Monster specifically, you can send a card from either player's extract to the grave. So it can be another search, it can be another pop, it can be another summon in the end phase, any number of things, free prep, other things like that. And triple punishment. This card's still pretty nice. And I actually am currently teching this, though I think I took it out on Master Duel, so I'll probably take it out in real life too. Dogmatic Encounter just lets me summon a Dogmatica from hand or grave, or get it back to hand from grave. So, yeah, very awesome. That's basically the deck. It's not a profile, so don't take it like card for card. It's not. The point is, it's a really cool deck, and I wanted to show you guys because I think not enough people kind of are interested in these alternative win condition alt strategy sort of things, and I've really been enjoying it. I've been like grinding with this in Diamond on Master Duel. It's a bit of a nightmare because there's a lot of tier and branded and stuff where you don't really want to send things from your extract to the graveyard. But, you know, if you want something that's just a little bit different, a little bit fun, give it a shot. That's going to be it. Still got a few more cards I need to get. Ultimate Slayer for this, for instance. But yeah. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Best turn.